In Ukraine, a recent incident has left at least 43 people, including children, injured due to Russian shelling of a residential area in the eastern part of the country. The attack took place approximately 100 kilometers away from the front line and close to the Russian border in the north. This marks the latest strike by Russia on civilian targets. The assault occurred in the afternoon when Russian missiles hit a neighborhood called Pierre-Ivomaysky in northeast Ukraine. As a result, at least 8 buildings were damaged, rendering more than half of the neighborhood uninhabitable. While many people were injured by shrapnel, fortunately, no casualties have been reported. Among the wounded were elderly residents who were caught off guard by the attack. Eyewitnesses recounted their experiences, expressing their fear and shock. One woman, who was in a nearby park with her granddaughter during the attack, described being thrown into the air by the explosion. She described the scene of blown-out windows and burning cars, stating that she was still shaken by the incident. Russia has not provided an immediate comment on the attack, consistently denying intentional targeting of civilians. However, there have been instances of rocket and drone strikes hitting residential areas in various cities and towns across Ukraine. Both Russia and Ukraine have accused each other of planning to attack Europe's largest nuclear facility. Amidst these developments, the Zaporizhia power station remains under Russian control since the beginning of the Ukrainian invasion. Neither side has presented concrete evidence to support their claims. The Russian military alleged that Kiev was planning to attack using missiles and drones. On the other hand, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky accused occupying troops of planting explosives around the power station, expressing concerns about the possibility of another attack. He emphasized the global responsibility to prevent such acts, stating that radiation spares no one. A correspondent in Kiev provided more details about the situation. Access to the affected area remains challenging, with the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, facing difficulties in reaching the site promptly. Reports from Ukrainian security services claim that explosive devices resembling those installed by Russians were found on the power plant's roof. These devices could be used to create false evidence of Ukrainian missile strikes causing damage. Conversely, Russian media reports suggest that Ukraine plans to launch a dirty bomb or attach nuclear waste to a missile to target the power plant. Despite the lack of substantial evidence, Russian forces have maintained a presence near the power station, with some even stationed on the site itself. The ongoing conflict has led to frequent attacks on towns and cities near the power plant. Experts speculate that the propaganda battle between Russia and Ukraine plays a significant role, with Russia attempting to find a reason to accuse Ukraine of irresponsibility and escalate tensions. Russia hopes that such accusations will pressure Western countries into urging Ukraine to halt its counteroffensive in that region, potentially diminishing Western support for Ukraine. While the situation remains delicate due to the involvement of a nuclear power plant, the risk of a catastrophic incident is not imminent. However, there are concerns about technical failures or accidental damage that could have severe consequences. The correspondent, who recently visited the affected region in Ukraine, described the daily attacks on Zaporizhia, the city housing hundreds of thousands of people. Ballistic missiles from the Russian side regularly target the nearby towns, forcing residents to live in constant fear and seek shelter. The correspondent highlighted the dangers posed to the power plant, such as the destruction of the power supply necessary to cool the reactors. The potential damage to the water supply, which is crucial for cooling the plant, adds to the concerns. Additionally, spent nuclear fuel stored on site poses a significant risk if accidentally hit. A direct hit on the power plant itself is deemed less dangerous as the plant was designed to withstand substantial damage. Nonetheless, the proximity of the conflict to the facility increases the likelihood of unintended consequences. The segment then shifted to discuss the challenges faced by Ukraine in protecting its airspace. An expert from the Royal Danish Defence College analyzed the reported shortages of ammunition and weapons within the Ukrainian military. He attributed the shortage to the increased demand resulting from the counteroffensive. As Ukraine aims to protect cities and advance on the front lines, the consumption of ammunition has significantly risen. While the counter-offensive progresses at a slower pace than expected, the expert highlighted the continuous need for ammunition, which remains a constant requirement. Turning to the recent incident involving Ukrainian drones penetrating Moscow's airspace, the expert noted weaknesses in Russia's territorial defense beyond the front lines in Ukraine. The ability of Ukrainian drones to reach the Russian capital underscores these vulnerabilities. The expert suggested that such attacks aim to humiliate the Russian military and authorities by revealing their lack of control over the situation after 16 to 17 months of a war that was initially anticipated to last only a few weeks. However, he clarified that the Ukrainian drones do not target Russian civilians in Moscow, indicating that the intention is not to instill fear but to expose the Russian military's limitations. The discussion concluded by acknowledging the strain on Ukraine's air defense systems, which could be compromised due to ammunition shortages. While the Ukrainian military currently intercepts most rockets and drones, there is a risk that more will get through if the shortages persist. The expert emphasized the trade-off Ukraine faces in allocating air defense resources to both city protection and the front lines. He noted the necessity for continued ammunition deliveries to support Ukraine's efforts in the counter-offensive. Overall, the situation in Ukraine remains highly volatile, with civilian casualties, attacks on residential areas, and concerns over the safety of the Zaporizhia power station. The conflict between Russia and Ukraine has escalated to include accusations, propaganda battles, and potential risks to regional stability. As the conflict persists, the challenges faced by Ukraine in defending its airspace and maintaining its air defense systems become increasingly apparent.